I see myself as an American. I see myself as a Muslim. I see myself as a proud Yemeni American now more than ever, an unapologetically American Muslim.
Over here, we have performers going to be like Mississippi.
Being born in Indonesia, I almost never met any non-Muslims in my life. And I think that is one of the most important points, being me here in America. It changed me as a Muslim.
This is our country. Yet, here I am, a U.S. citizen, can't even bring my mom to America. Because of this ban, there's life moments that gone forever. This is hurting us.
And now with Trump, the Muslim ban is really personal to me. And with my dad still living in Jordan, I understand what that means to have that family separation. You're talking about people's husbands, people's cousins, people's wives, people's children.
Really, my aim with our mosque is to kind of create an atmosphere where if a non-Muslim comes in and says, you know, hi, I want to know what you guys doing here. And that's why I said let's come up with this concept of environment, neighbors inside, and really show them what Muslims are.
All right, let's do it. It's gonna be a family time.
I think that we're coming to a point where our community is realizing that they do have to come out and fight these policies because now they're all directly being affected. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! The Muslim ban has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! The Muslim ban has got to go! Hey,
okay, next 4 steps. 1, 2, up, stop the Muslim ban. Got it? Okay, let's do this.
So I am in it for the long haul. We have to find ways to make Americans continue to care about the Muslim ban.
A clip from American Muslim. We'll get to this in just a few minutes with our guest. Welcome once again to the Radical Imagination. I'm your host, Jim Vrettos, and I'm a sociologist who's taught at John Jay College of Criminal Justice and Yeshiva University here in New York City. The Jewish Community Center of Manhattan recently announced the launching of a brand new film festival that they hope will impact and engage the community to explore a variety of social themes, including inequality, injustice, advocacy and social responsibility, racial discrimination, LGBTQIA rights, environmental and water justice, immigrant rights, and religious intolerance. Timed to coincide with Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and among and running from January 16th to the 20th, it's called City Matters, New York Social Justice Festival. It's designed through films, a variety of special events, and conversations to promote, in the spirit of Dr. King, concrete social action that leads to positive, meaningful, and transformative change. Having attended the Other Israel Film Festival at the Center late last year, which showed films by and about Israel's Arab and minority populations, I can attest firsthand to the high-quality, inspirational, cutting-edge, and daring nature of the films presented. There simply was not another place in town where you could find what the festival offered. In the face of the ever-growing number of anti-Semitic and anti-Muslim hate crimes and religious intolerance in this country and around the world, the threats of new and even greater spasms of military state violence across the Middle East, continued sexual and gender violence, radically and racially brutalized police practices, environmental catastrophes like the wildfire infernos in Australia. The list goes on and on. This year's festival will certainly have its hands full. Yet, as Issac Zablocki, one of our guests today on the show, has said, we believe films can impact life like no other form of communication and can help reshape our society by inspiring towards action. Our guests today are Issac Zablocki, the founder and director of the Jewish Community Center's Carol Zabar Film Center. He attended Columbia University Film School, has worked at Miramax Films, developed film educational programs for the U.S. Department of Education, the Israeli Defense Forces, and since 2004, Issac has been developing film programs at the JCC, including the Israel Film Center, the Real Abilities Film Festival, and the highly acclaimed Other Israel Film Festival. We're also honored to welcome Adam Zucker, an independent filmmaker who's created a compelling, timely, extraordinarily thoughtful documentary that will be playing at the festival called American Muslim, a film about being Muslim in the age of Trump. Adam is a director, producer, cinematographer, and editor of numerous award-winning films that have appeared in multiple festivals in the United States and around the world. He's edited numerous films in the PBS American Master and American Experience series as well. Welcome, Issac.
Thank you so much.
And Adam,
Thanks
to the Radical Imagination. It is really great. It's an honor to have you here. And, you know, as I said in the intro here, I went to the Other Israel Film Festival. It's magnificent. Can't wait for this to get going. It's going to start on January 16th, is that
January
correct?
16th till the 20th.
Till the 20th.
Yeah, we run at the JCC and at a few other locations. We have some other satellite screenings too. And we hope this becomes a staple of MLK weekend. So it's something that we can expand on for years to come.
All right. And before we get into your incredible film, why don't you give us just a general overview of the film festival here and how you got involved in it? And
Well, in general, as you were saying, that the film, I believe that film is actually a form of education and really has an important and engaging way to impact an audience, and therefore we look at kind of the topics that in our society we hope we can possibly are some challenges that we can create change with. So we're always looking at ourselves and trying to think where else are there important topics that we want to cover. That we're not covering enough, that need to be illuminated more, to be put in the spotlight. And the best way to do it, I feel, I mean, we do weekly screenings. We've been screening these films for years now, but really it's about finding a festival that brings the energy and goes beyond the films and puts together a program that will take the audience to a whole new level.
but this is the first of the social justice film festivals, is that correct?
That's correct.
This is, and you're trying to connect it to Martin Luther King Day, and so this has been in the works for, as you say, a number of months, years.
Well, we've been talking about it for years, and then eventually this year we said let's make this happen, and the funding came together relatively quickly, and we put this whole festival together in less than 6 months. Our team worked extra hard. Amazing help came from all different sides of the JCC to make this happen, and we're now excited to bring this to the community, and hope that this is something that the community really takes. I feel that often people are telling me, I'll get stopped on the street sometime from people who saw a movie 10 years ago and tell me that movie changed my life. And I feel like every movie in this festival is that kind of movie, and it's so important right now to show these films that we're really hoping that we have an impact on the community. But beyond that, we're giving the community the direct place of where to put that passion. They're seeing these movies. Let's not just sit there and say, wow, this changed my life. Let's actually get up and do something about it. And we're finding those connections to really put people in the right place to be able to, if it's writing the letter to whatever politician they need to write to, if it's signing whatever petition, whatever it would be, to engage in whatever organizations that are doing the change on the ground. That's what we actually want to see happen.
Right. And there's a series of panels and conversations and so on that we can talk about all during the week that you are going to be using to illustrate what you're talking about and actually make that action happen. And so, Adam, let's turn to your film first here, American Muslim. Tell us a little about this incredible film and how this got started and your thoughts about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I follow the maxim of D.A. Pennebaker, sort of the godfather of documentary filmmakers. And I heard him say once, he was asked, where do your ideas come from? And he said, don't look away. He was talking to a room full of filmmakers. And I've always followed that I don't go searching for stories. And if anything, I'm usually looking for reasons not to do something, because I know how difficult it is to make a film, how many years of time it will take, and cost, expense, and challenge. And what happened, I was not looking for a story, but the day after, this film started on November 9th, 2016, which was the day after the election. And
with the banning, the Muslim ban.
Well, the Muslim ban didn't start until the first week of the Trump presidency.
Right.
But for me personally, the day after the election, when I and most everyone I knew were extremely despondent and devastated, and I really felt like my country was going down the drain, to be clear about it. It was just clear to me that there were people that were on the front line, and I was not. And I had been shocked to see what was happening to religious minorities, specifically to Muslims, during that whole campaign, and the way they were being vilified. And I just felt instantly I had to try to do something, and I didn't know what that meant. What form it would take, it might not have even been a feature documentary, but I just wanted to make a contribution.
What do you think about in your own background that got the juices flowing at that time, if you want to get a little personal about it?
Well, I'm Jewish. I'm a religious minority. I have always felt a great deal of affinity, of course, with other minorities. I think we're part of a great tradition, generally speaking, in American Judaism, of being on the right side of the fence and trying to be in empathy with others.
For the underdog.
But more than that, for me, I just felt there was a line in the sand having to do with hate and bigotry that I was not willing personally to accept, and that's what the Trump presidency is. I mean, I've been around for a while. These are unprecedented times, so I think it requires a lot of action.
And so it certainly wasn't just for your people that you were speaking to, for all and all oppressed minorities here.
I think so, and I'd also be clear, I'm not speaking for Muslim people, and the people in New York City, which is where this film takes place, those communities did not need me to come in and help them or save them or more specifically, tell their story. I just felt I wanted to tell their story, and I wanted to bring my voice to make a contribution and to become part of a dialogue that I hoped and assumed we'd all be having.
And you have selected individuals within the film that you have interviewed and again, as you say, trying to elucidate their narrative. And I know we're going to be playing one in just a few minutes. So how did you enter into conversation with these people? How did you get to know them?
Well, I think research has shown that most Americans, over 50% of Americans, have never met a Muslim person. And certainly most Americans don't have a Muslim friend. And I do think a lot of communities are pretty siloed these days. But I don't say that as accusation, because the fact of the matter is I lived in New York City my entire life. And I've certainly met a lot of Muslims, but I didn't have any Muslim friends. And I realized if I was going to, in some way, make a contribution or to tell this story, I had to go out to meet my neighbors.
You live where? Where in?
I live in the West Village.
West Village, okay.
Some people in New York City are very siloed geographically. Personally, I had been to Ozone Park, I'd been to Bay Ridge, I'd been to Sunset Park. I spent time in those areas. But that's just geography, because I get around a lot. I didn't really spend time getting to know people. And it's a fairly organic process when you're a filmmaker. Just you call up one person who leads you to another,
Right.
And honestly, that process of getting to know people and calling them up saying, can I take you out and we'll chat, is a fantastic process. It's by far the most fun that I have as a filmmaker, is just meeting people am beginning to experience when the standard of, is this going to work? Is this going to be good footage? Is this going to help me? I'm not asking those questions, just trying to learn and trying to experience.
And they're more than willing to open up.
I find at this time, which is a bit surprising to me, that I hate to paint people with broad strokes, but most Muslims that I encountered were particularly open to talking with me. And it's not because of me. I think that, and this is expressed a lot, that they really felt it was incumbent upon them to make themselves known better. And, you know, it shouldn't be necessary. But if people are being vilified, and it's a community that might be a little insular, especially those who are observant and pray 5 times a day and live near the mosque, they really wanted to open the doors to the mosque. They wanted to speak to me or other people that were outsiders. So the fact of the matter was a fantastic time to kind of embark upon this film, because it was really ripe for introduction, for meeting, for working together.
Why don't you set up this next clip we're going to be playing here? Who is this with now again?
This is with Dr. Debbie Almentozer, who's been an activist for many years. So the film is focuses on 5 different disparate individuals.
Right.
The Muslim population in New York and in America and worldwide is not Arab American. In fact, most Arab Americans who are in New York, most Arab Americans in America aren't Muslim, they're Christian. So not all Muslims are Arabs, and not all Arabs are Muslims. So there's an Indonesian American in my film, a Bengali American. But this clip is about Dr. Debbie Almentozer, who's a leader in the Yemeni community, and I, in fact, didn't want her to be in my film because she has some stature in New York City. She's wonderful, she's become a friend, but I really wanted to tell less known stories. But Dr. Debbie was at the heart of so much of the Muslim ban pushback that I was encountering that I began filming with her, and I was happy to have her. So this was actually took place at a press conference in the Bronx on, I think it's dated, but it's in April of 2018, which was the day before the Supreme Court had its oral arguments about the Muslim ban. The Muslim ban, which was issued in January 2017, was making its way up the courts.
So that's the constant theme throughout the documentary, is the Muslim ban and response to it, among other things. And so, okay, so let's play this clip with the heart of the movement against the ban.
Ready?
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we gather the day before the U.S. Supreme Court ruling, actually the oral arguments that will be taking place to determine what the ruling will be. We truly hope that they will rule on the right side of history to uphold our freedom of religion and expression.
You know, when I think about what drives me and what identity, you know, fuels that is really my being an advocate.
What do we want? Justice!
I firmly believe that the demonstrations that we've organized, the Muslim ban rallies, have actually made an impact. People forget that judges read the newspaper, watch the news, and are moved by some of these things that are happening. So even if we have reached public display exhaustion, I am in it for the long haul. We have to find ways to basically make Americans continue to care about the Muslim ban.
Every day I remind myself why I do this work. And 20 years from now, when my grandchildren are old enough to know what happened during this time, I want them to be able to say, I am so glad that my grandmother Debbie, my grandfather Naji stood up and were there. And I want each and every one of you to join me where the next generation can look back and say, I'm so proud of my aunt, my uncle, my cousin, my grandfather. So we are creating history, and we love this country, and we will save it from going down the gutter.
What a great way of putting it. Saving the country from going down the gutter.
We all hope so.
Yeah. So, absolutely. So, now your film is going to be on January 17th, is that right?
The film is
At the
playing at the
center.
festival at
At the
two locations. In the afternoon at 3 o'clock at the Media Center, which is a part of IFP, which is a film organization I've been involved with for a long time. So I'm glad to have it screened there.
And where is that again, location?
It's
For
in
all our
Dumbo. I
audience?
think it's on 30 John Street.
Okay.
But it's in
We can-
Dumbo, right by
we'll
the
look
bridge.
that up.
Can't miss it.
Okay.
And then Friday evening there'll be a screening, a big screening at the JCC, which is part of the Shabbat Shebang series. We're going to have there'll be prayer, a little bit of prayer. Don't be scared. And dinner. So that's good.
Well, we want to. We want the observant to come, right? I mean,
it's inclusive. It's a Friday night dinner,
Right.
And
the rabbi does the. I've
we
been
will
there.
definitely try to make everyone feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
So the Jewish community, the Muslim community, the Christian community, everyone is really welcome to this. It'll be fun. It's actually at a very accessible price, and dinner's served. Dinner, movie, and conversation. You can't ask for more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can pitch it, the conversation is not just myself and/or Isaac. It will be represented. Dr. Debbie will be there with me,
Oh, really?
and Daphne Evitar is someone who I know who works at Amnesty International, which was very active in the pushback against the Muslim ban, and Rabbi Levitt will be moderating.
I see. And that's at both locations, or is that the 7th?
Only at the evening location.
The 17th.
Yes, on the 17th.
Okay, so we can.
That's the shebang event.
The shebang, okay, the shebang, okay. And what other panels will you have during that week also?
So just to add on, although
Sure.
everybody should be going to the American Muslim screenings. During that Friday night dinner, there are 4 other Friday night dinners going on at the same time, all related to the topics of the festival. In
a lot of
different
eating.
ways.
Well,
A lot of eating.
It's a Jewish
yeah.
community center.
Yeah,
So
it's Friday night.
yes.
And then we have throughout Sunday, Monday, MLK weekend really, throughout all the days of the festival, there are different events outside of just the film events, which will be every film is followed by a conversation. Usually panels, kind of like what we would have at the Friday night dinner. But beyond that, we're having a different ways to get involved, volunteer opportunities, other spaces just to have conversations that are so crucial to our community.
Right. Well, actually, there's so much to cover here, and there's so many incredible films, and we're going to try to touch on at least 4 here. So the film that's opening the festival is All Rise, and we'll have a clip on that in just a second. So you want to just set the tone and stage for that one?
All Rise,
All
first
Rise.
of all, touches on the topic of racial injustice, I'll say, and
Okay.
it's a film that had its premiere, its New York premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival, and is going on for a major release. Has wonderful cast and crew, beautiful production. And we're going to have a lot of the participants and the crew from the film there for this special event. And once again, have a really tailored conversation on these topics of youth incarceration from the Black community. And really, I think the film, it's based on a book called Monster. And the film dives into this topic in a really respectful and eye-opening way. As a parent, I remember seeing this film, and my heart was breaking throughout. And it's shocking how real this film is, and how this goes on in our country.
Let's take a look at the clip. All Rise.
I'm not guilty.
That's great. You should have said I didn't do it.
I didn't do it.
doesn't matter what I believe. I'm gonna do my job.
Got a minute?
It's okay.
So, you ready to reconsider the offer? Don't shut it off, Green. I know you have an impossible caseload, and I'm going home at 6, so why not make it easy on everybody?
He's only 17.
So what? His actions led to a murder, and if you keep going, I'm gonna nail this kid.
He didn't do it.
What are you talking about? I got the surveillance tape. I got witnesses who put him there.
Your witnesses.
I got the old lady. Okay, she's very credible. Take the offer. You're wasting everybody's time and money.
20 years. He's a good kid. He's never been in trouble before. He's got great parents. He's not who you think he is.
He looks the part to me.
Wow, yeah, it's an amazing film. I forgot to mention that it also premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, of course,
yeah.
And it really touches on a lot of topical matters that even though it's based on fiction, but it's very much real.
Struggling with for years now, yeah, obviously. Will the director be?
The director will be there. The producers will be there. Some of the actors will be there. We're gonna have a really a fun opening night, and there'll be a reception too, so people will get to party.
That's the opening. That's the 16th.
That's on the 16th.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. There's so many issues that you're covering here, and it's so diverse. I mean, you've had again. How do you come to pick which areas you're going to be covering?
So
so much.
You're hitting on it. There's so much, and we first of all want high quality films. That's really important to us. Films that will engage the mainstream, possibly even not just the choir, not just preach to the choir, but movies that are just films that people will want to see because they're interested in good movies. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, we wanted topics. We were trying to figure out exactly what we wanted to focus on, and we made a list of topics that are important to our community right now, and it's from racial justice through environment and immigration, minority populations, other important themes. But what we realized as we went through the process is that what was most important to us was actually what's going on in America right now. There's a lot of trouble going on around the world, and a lot of these topics relate to those issues too. But I think we were also thinking about that right now there's a crucial element for our community that we need to focus on, and we kept our focus. You'll notice that I don't think we have many or any foreign films in our lineup, because we're really talking about America right now.
At this point, right.
And that helped us structure it a little bit more. Of course, we wanted to have as much diversity as possible and touch on as many topics as possible. But this being MLK weekend, I'd say that racial justice took the main stage and was really the topic that we wanted to bring most attention to, because we feel as much as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. actually, and especially towards the end of his life, focused beyond just civil rights. He really was about social justice in general. We really wanted to also focus on the racial topics too, and that was something that I think we wanted to challenge our community with a little bit and bring change. I'm speaking here as a very privileged white male, that I feel that this festival has actually taught me a lot and has changed my approach to all of this.
Well, there's an interconnection to so many of these issues that get complex, it's nuanced, but you mentioned justice, so let's set up the next clip, which will be Thirst for Justice. So what is this about?
It's hard for me to keep track of all the titles of our films.
I know. Well,
me
too.
That's why I have they somehow, I think we can create a poem that connects all the different titles. But Thirst for Justice is actually this actually is a more global issue, but once again specific to America, and actually in our backyard at Newark. In Newark, we know we were dealing with water issues.
Water issues there too. Not just Flint, Michigan. Or
exactly, and this focuses on Flint,
Native
Michigan,
American tribes,
but our conversation will really focus on what's going on in our backyard. And I think this is of course very relevant to our environment. Water is a huge issue everywhere. One that's actually, unfortunately, taken a little bit of the backseat to some of the other topics, especially even environmental topics. But this is something crucial, and it's shocking that in our great America that these things can happen. And I think the film does a great job at exploring this topic.
It is, it is. Let's take a clip, a look at the clip. Thirst for Justice.
Flint, Michigan, under a state of emergency, being told, don't drink the water, don't even touch the water.
Our doctor gave us a packet to get our will together. We don't know if he's gonna die or not.
My daughter, she was having anywhere from 100 to like 150 seizures a day.
We're gonna have to collect data ourselves. I kept all my water. They told us let it run and then boil it. I think this is out of my hot water tank.
In the aftermath of the Flint, Michigan water crisis, we're all more sensitive, obviously, to the importance of clean, safe drinking water coming from our faucets.
An Arizona town is actually in the middle of its own water battle, long-term exposure to uranium.
They told me that I had ovarian cancer. Just resolved myself to die.
The Church Rock Dam break of July 16th, 1979, remains the largest release of radioactive waste by volume in U.S. history.
So that must be all radioactive.
It ranks third behind Fukushima and Chernobyl.
We've gotten no assistance from any governmental agency.
You're wasting our time and we're dying. People have died from this damn water, and all you guys can sit up there and just pretend like it's no big deal.
They intended to cover it up once they found that there was a problem.
We just gotta go balls to the wall and not have any fear and like escalate.
This is what protecting water looks like in America.
So this is a rubber bullet. This is what they're shooting at the crowd. It is completely hollow on the inside for extra pressure.
We do have to face rubber bullets, tear gas, sound cannon, water cannon.
We don't, for one thing, we don't have a water cannon. It's just a regular old fire hose. The water was down there to put out fires that were started by the protesters.
People are coming all over the country to come here to Standing Rock. Like I came here from Flint.
We're uniting, and that's their worst nightmare.
39 people were arrested and there wasn't any violence. That's a victory.
The United Nations says that within 15 years, the demand for water will outstrip supply by about 40%. So we just simply will not have the water for everyone.
I don't even want to say it, but I feel like Flint gets a lot of headlines because there's a lot of white people speaking up. I don't want anything to happen to my kids, but even though this happened to us, I'm kind of grateful it did because it brought the situation to light.
I want to fight just as hard for her babies, and I know she'll fight just as hard for mine. That's going to be our revolution.
Shut up. 10 minutes.
I'm not going to shut up.
On.
I'm not going to shut up. You never shut me up.
Hey!
All right, you're under arrest.
One of these themes, the constant theme is the system is breaking down, and the authorities, the government, is of little help or adding to the problems. Adam, I mean, the connections here against vulnerable populations. You see connections to some of your own work
well,
here?
There's always connections. I guess one of my takeaways from working on this film, which is a large part of its life now that it's complete, has to do with intercommunity alliance, what I often call interfaith alliance in the case of American Muslim. As I was filming it, I found it was somewhat surprising to me the amount of affinity between Jewish groups and Muslim groups, which has not always been the case, and church groups and other groups. And one of the it's a difficult time to live in.
Yeah.
Again,
but this can offer the possibility of bringing people together.
Right. It's a difficult time to live in. It's hard almost to know what to focus on. The film festival is perhaps symbolic of that in a way, of all these issues that need to get addressed. And it's not a case of saying water justice is more important than immigration issues. There's no calculus for that. But there's so many things that we can focus on. And I have found a plethora of inter-community, interfaith alliance and work going on, all the way to the extent that on the this past Sunday, the March Against Hate, which was billed as being an event for the Jewish community, was all the people that we had been marching for before were marching with us then. And I would like to think of that as a more positive, promising way to see how the country itself is dealing with. I mean, it all comes down to November 2020, but that's another discussion.
I think it's a beautiful connection between all the films, is that really we're seeing people who are doing amazing things in these tough times. The films are focusing on people who are actually standing up, and I think the filmmakers themselves are people who are standing up and being extremely brave and making sure that their voices are not silenced. And that's something that we applaud, and we hope that the community can come together around.
And we've got to applaud also that you're doing this festival right at the right time here too. So again, thank you for having the vision on this, and I know all the other people that have helped you with this. But next one we'd like to look at is Changing the Game. Short clip on that. Changing the Game. Now this involves what, Isaac?
This follows trans youth in specifically sports athletes.
Okay.
This is a topic that actually I'd say is extremely topical, covered a lot in the press, and has become a very debated topic.
Transgender rights.
Transgender rights, but specifically what happens within sports and all the challenges that that brings up. And the film is actually one of the films that our committee, who come from all walks of life, all responded to very positively, and we found that to be a really good sign for this film. We're hoping also maybe some sports fans will come out and see a very different perspective.
These are three. How many people are?
Four. It follows four.
Different. Okay. Yeah. Let's take a look at the clip here.
I do think people hate me.
Come on, 10 seconds, come on. We'll just tomorrow, let's go.
Let's go. Wrestling found me. I love it.
Come on, 15 seconds, come on. Go.
If I didn't have the sports to clear my mind, I don't think I would be here today.
Track has given me self-worth, confidence.
On your marks, set.
That's so unfair. It is totally a male biology.
Where do you locate that so-called right to be included? They don't have the right. It's a civil rights issue of our day, it seems. And it's attacking the integrity of the sport.
You should take up the violin.
Cheating.
How much strength
A sport.
not blow your own head off?
I fight as hard as a man. I am a man. And I'm the state champ of female high school wrestling. I don't want to wrestle females. All I ever wanted to do was wrestle men.
There we go, attaboy. I didn't even know what transgender was, but I would never turn my back on an athlete.
If you run the whole race like this, it's gonna be something to watch. Would it be fair to tell somebody that you have all of the rights and privileges of a given gender, except in this one situation? Either you do or you don't.
Would it be fair for me to be competing on the boys' team? No. I am a girl. That's who I am, no matter what.
I am a girl, and I deserve to be on the girls' team.
Why would you tell an adolescent that wants to pursue a dream and something that could change their life, to tell them not to compete? I know I'm not doing it for anybody else, I'm doing it for me. I'm able to be me, and that's all I ever wanted to do. That's all I ever wanted to do.
Changing the game, wow. Civil rights issue of the day.
Yeah, it's an inspiring film that
Yeah.
that really, I think, shows the complexities also too of this topic, and I think doesn't really leave many questions unanswered. It really gives you an understanding of how real this topic is.
Yeah, the individuals and the system is struggling.
Yeah.
With all of this. Yeah, we could. There's so many more that we need to cover, or we should cover. We're not going to be able to cover them all, but let's do Always in Season as the next clip we want to talk about.
Always in Season is a documentary about a mother grieving the loss of her child and wants the recognition of it as it being an act of lynching.
Right.
This connects also to the film True Justice with Bryan Stevenson and all of his work relating to the lynching of African Americans and how much of a unrecognized and under-recognized program that had been for many years, and how close that is to many parts of America and kind of gets hidden under the carpet. So this film
even
tries
with
to expose that.
The Emmett Till story that has come out, well, now for years, but we're still, it's an uncomfortable issue, isn't it? But that needs to be faced. So let's take a look at the clip.
If you knew in your heart and in your mind that someone took your child's life, how far would you go to get to the truth?
There's a male subject hanging from the swing. It's a black male subject.
I think they hung him up to make it look like a suicide.
It looked like a back in the day lynching.
His body will be hung in the courthouse square for all to see. All white folks are invited to the party.
Lynching was a message crime. They happened in places where the body would be seen, and it's the public nature of lynching that really condemns the white community, because the idea that people didn't know, they did know.
As I started researching black males committing suicide in public over the last few years, I became quite concerned that there may be a bigger surreptitious movement at play here.
The caption, last night pick before the game.
That does not sound like a person that was planning on killing himself.
Any injustice affects everybody that's around it. So we don't want anything in the dark. Bring it to the light.
This is a tough topic for our community.
Yeah.
And we're there to challenge the community. And I think I've seen all these films, and many of them, as I mentioned before, have opened my eyes. And I think there's so much that needs to be discussed. And we hope to create a safe environment where we can have the important discussions and bring the community to understanding and to better connecting with one another. This is ultimately all about ending hate, I feel.
And you've reached out to a variety of communities to attend this, right?
We have.
And this show is going to help do that too. We want to make sure that our audience is behind this.
We want to bring in as diverse of a community as possible. We want to bridge gaps, but we also, I feel that any community, we can't lose here, because any community that comes in to see these films will be impacted and will connect.
Right. This theme of public shaming, humiliation, it runs through all of the films that we've been talking about. And that's so important, it seems like, the issue of domination of more vulnerable people. We see it in the headlines today, right, with the Trump action. And at this point, Iran hit back, didn't cause damage. And interestingly, how he put it, Trump was saying they backed off. So much of this is about showing power to try to control and dominate, isn't it? And these themes in all these films are in some way trying to describe that as well to the hurt population. And why are they doing that? Why are the powers that be, why are we doing this to people? Why are we publicly shamed? Why are we lynching people? Why are we not providing adequate water and so on and so on? Why are we treating Muslims as non-humans, in a sense? So this runs so deep and structurally, psychologically, morally, intellectually, in our economically, I mean, that's part of what this good part of what this show is about, the radical imagination. How do we transform? How can we begin to transform this complex phenomenon at so many different levels? I throw that open to you. I mean, you're making stabs at it. We got to keep doing that.
Listen, I think it's true. I think first of all, there's a lot of ego involved. I think there's
and male ego.
We often go about things in the wrong way. We often treat our enemy. We often create an enemy out of the things that we don't know, that we are afraid of, that in any way kind of threaten us. And that's something that we need to change. We also, the first thing, also our reaction. This is something that we need to learn how to change as a society.
Mm-hmm.
Our reaction to something that happens to us is immediately to blame the other, as opposed to think of what did I do to create this situation?
Right.
What are they seeing? What does it look like from their perspective? I don't think anybody is inherently evil. I don't think that we have, if we're going to talk about movies, I don't think we have Darth Vaders in this world. I don't think we have characters who are just black or white, good or bad. I think that we have different perspectives. And I think one of the things that movies does is help us see other people's perspectives and helps us understand where others are coming from.
So they're not so foreign to us, literally, alien. Like, again, I'm a lifetime New Yorker too. I know what you're saying. My father's side grew up in Bay Ridge too. But again, we need to connect at deeper levels. And I think your film in particular that we've seen here really gets us to do that.
Well, ironically, my mother grew up in Bay Ridge.
Okay.
And, I spent a fair amount of time there when I was growing up.
Right.
And I would say one thing I set out to do in making films, I sort of think it a little bit as cultural anthropology. This is my hometown, New York, but there are a lot of different neighborhoods here, and my goal is to get people to know people they don't know. And if I were to say to humanize my Muslim neighbors, I would certainly wouldn't want to imply that they need humanizing. They don't at all. But people need to be seen for who they are. There's a scene in my film which takes place at Muhammad Bai's Mosque in Sunset Park. It was, I think, the day before Christmas, and they were having the family night. And the kids are all playing a game called Chubby Bunny and how many marshmallows you can stick in someone's mouth. And everyone's screaming and yelling and having a great time. And every time the film is shown, when I'm there, everyone's laughing at the scene. And the reality is, that game for children would be held anywhere.
Anywhere, among any group of kids.
And when I was filming it, and I'm hearing in my ear the wireless microphone that's on Muhammad, and people are saying to him, who is this guy with the camera who keeps on coming to the mosque? What is he doing here? And, do we trust him? He goes, he's a good guy. He's just, and it's really great. People need to see what goes on in these doors. And that's sort of what I was trying to do.
You did extremely well, and we only have a minute or two left. Again, tell our audience how they can register for this, where it's going to be.
You could find all the information at cinematters.film, cinematters.film, or on the JCC Manhattan website, which is
right here now. We put it on the board. Right, Cinematters, there we go.
Cinematters.film. We have events from January 16th till the 20th, and we have a few other locations too. We have a location in Harlem, in actually Westchester, and we're even in Washington, D.C. in our first year, which is great to see. That's an important place to be for all of this.
What's the next festival you're thinking about? We've got to get.
We're already working on
Want to tell us a little?
No, on our Real Abilities Film Festival. It's the 12th annual Real Abilities Film Festival, and that's the largest disability film festival in the country. Also shining a light on a minority population that does not get enough attention, with fabulous films in multiple locations in the most accessible and inclusive way. It's also a diverse festival, and on a lot of topics, and there's something for everyone there.
Maybe the Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, progressive.
Oh, to get into those topics.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what we're showing
on that. Come on.
It happens to be that there is an influx of films on the Orthodox community, and we're showing at the JCC almost on a weekly basis films that relate to the Orthodox community. We just showed one this past week on the city of Joel, of Kiryas Joel, upstate, which is a whole city of ultra-Orthodox community, the poorest community in the country, just because this is how the community comes together.
Well, to our friends up in Muncie, we stand with you as well, and we're going to have a festival. They're all invited as well. We're all going to get together here and learn from each other. Thank you so much, Isaac.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
We'll see you at the festival. Thank you again so much. And thank you so much for watching The Radical Imagination. We're going to go out appropriately, I think, with Ray Charles, America the Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful, for heroes proved in liberating strife. Who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine till all success be nobleness and every gain divine. When I was in school, you know, we used to sing it something like this. Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties, above the fruited plain. Look here, I'm talking about America, sweet America. You know, God done shed his grace on thee. He crowned thy good, saving brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, I love you. Save it, brother.